Looking back on the week that was and forward to the week ahead. It's the Fantasy Football Hustle. Here are your hosts, Brian Drake and Dwain McFarland.
All across the fantasy universe, welcome in. It's the Fantasy Football Hustle. Where else would you rather be, folks? It's the middle of May, and it's the Fantasy Football Hustle Experts Best Ball Invitational, powered by Pro Football Focus. Of course, I am Brian Drake of FightingChanceFantasy.com. You follow me on Twitter at DrakeFantasy. Joined as always by my main man, the analytical assassin, Dwain McFarland of PFF and Established to Run. What's up, buddy? How are you?
Dude, how could I be? I mean, I'm about to draft for fantasy football. Like it's like Christmas every time this happens. So I'm stoked. I'm ready. Excited about all the guys that are coming on. I think we've got a great list of guests. So it's kind of like the official kickoff, Drake. Like football season is coming. Like it's on its way, like so quick.
The draft starts in about 2.5 minutes. And if you're just starting your draft prep out there, of course, you want to head over to Pro Football Focus, PFF.com, if you will. A little Dusty Rhodes shout out to the wrestling fans. Yeah, you want to go over to PFF.com because you're going to use our promo code HUSTLE. It's going to save you 25% off any subscription package. You get access to the locked articles, the rankings, the data, Dwain's utilization report, all that good stuff for 365 days. Again, PFF.com. Use our promo code HUSTLE, 25% off any package. So with about 2 minutes to go here, boy, oh boy, Dwain, do we have a crew tonight. We're doing an NFL 10 best ball draft. Now, if you remember, we did this last year. Our defending champion is back in it. It's Joe Dolan from Fantasy Points. But let's run through the 12 participants in this 20-round contest. It's a PPR draft. We're going to start things off with Steve Rapin from FightingChanceFantasy.com. At second, we've got John Daigle from NBC Sports Edge. I'll never get that right, Dwain. It's always Roto World to me. NBC Sports Edge Football. Number 3, you know him, you love him, Bob Harris from the Football Diehards and SiriusXM. Hey, look at me. I got a top 5 pick. I'm picking 4th. Joe Dolan from FantasyPoints.com comes up behind me. Then there's Rich Hribar from SharpFootballAnalysis.com. We welcome him back. Then our good pal, he didn't get Balboni this year. He was supposed to be in last year, and if you remember, some rando guy named Balboni took his spot, but we love him. We got him back this year. It's Ryan Reynolds from EstablishTheRun.com. Our good buddy Kevin Tompkins, the host of the Lightning Round podcast. Also, you see his work over at Ball Blast Football. He's picking 8th. Dwain, you got 9th there, and it ain't the greatest. Sorry, I couldn't pull any strings for you.
Tompkins is already going to break my heart in round 1. I already know.
No question. Welcome in.
He'll do it very reasonably, though, because he's a reasonable man.
Drew Davenport. He's starting the double digits here. You know him, love him from footballguys.com and his new podcast, The Auction Brief. Check that out on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. Ryan Hallam, the Godfather. You know him. He started FightingChanceFantasy.com, and he's at FantasyAlarm.com right now. He is picking 11th. And our good buddy Jim Riley from BallCap Sports on YouTube is going to be rounding things out there at the turn. We're going to get things going here in about 15 seconds. Steve, you're going to be on the clock. Can we expect anything crazy from the 101?
Kevin was trying to trade up from the 8th pick, but we got as high as him offering a 10th round pick and a Truly Seltzer. So I'm going to think that I'm probably going to stay firm, and I don't expect any surprises here.
The draft has begun. Steve is on the clock. No surprise, Christian McCaffrey off the board.
He's a difference maker. I mean, when healthy, last year he battled a litany of injuries, but when he's on the field, he's the best fantasy football producer there is. So I'm sticking with my guns and not doing any surprises.
John Daigle, the 1-2 takes Dalvin Cook. I like that. We'll get Daigle on here in a little bit to talk. You know, we always enjoy having him on the show. Dwain, are you okay with Dalvin Cook at the 1-2?
Absolutely. I mean, I know why people do it. I think for me, it's him or Derrick Henry or Saquon. I think I put Kamara lower just because I'm worried about who's going to be quarterback for the Saints. But, I mean, Cook's going to catch passes. He runs on a scheme that's a great fit for him. He's explosive. Yeah. I mean, the only thing you worry about with Cook is obviously the injuries.
All right, Bob Harris is up right now. He just got done doing a show on SiriusXM, so he's got a few picks locked in the can, and then I'm coming up on the clock. Oh my goodness, we got to see who's going to be there available for me. He's going to take Alvin Kamara. So now I'm on the clock here with the 4th overall pick. It is a PPR. Derrick Henry's available. Saquon Barkley's there. Jonathan Taylor. Oh boy, what can we do here? If we look at last year, Derrick Henry did finish 3rd. They don't really have much else. Saquon to me is so appealing though, because
you're really enjoying milking this, aren't you?
Oh, every second. I got some heavy hitters on this. I got to take all this mic time I can. Oh, what if I zig and take a wide receiver? Nah, I can't do it. You know what? We're going to go just safe and sound here, and I'm going to take Derrick Henry. Joe Dolan, rapid fire. That's why we like Joe Dolan immediately with the 5th pick. Saquon Barkley. That's who I would have taken if I didn't take Derrick Henry. Now we go over to Rich Hribar. He takes Ezekiel Elliott. Dwayne, what do you think about Zeke coming into 2021?
I think that's where Zeke should go, and people are, just letting him slide down to, the 7 to 10 range, which I was hoping was going to happen tonight. Obviously, it's not. I have Zeke ahead of Jonathan Taylor as well.
All right, Ryan Reynolds, here we go, buddy. You're taking Travis Kelce, the first non-running back off the board. What made you take him?
I'm very unhappy about that. I was going to take Elliott. And it was basically between Chubb, Eckler, Jamar Taylor, Cam Akers, and I'm not really – they're all kind of in a cluster to me. So I'm going to try to go a little unconventional with Kelce and see how things pan out.
See, I knew that Tompkins was going to do this. So I'm taking Jonathan Taylor because I'm probably not going to get him very often. Like, my plan was Aaron Jones or Zeke. So we're actually with sharp players that are drafting them in the right order. But I'll go ahead and take Taylor. Probably be my one out of – I'll probably get Taylor like maybe 2 times this year, and I'll draft like 25 teams. So here's one of them. Cheers, Jonathan Taylor.
Aaron Jones off the board at 1-8, just before Dwayne's pick. Kevin Tompkins, how are you, my friend?
I'm good. I was banking on Kelce getting to me, and that clearly didn't happen. So, I've got Aaron Jones as my RB6. I think it's just a steal there. He's going I haven't seen him really go too much higher than that, but I think it's a good spot for him. I think he's kind of overlooked in that second tier running back.
Drew, you took Nick Chubb from the Browns. I love Nick Chubb, but I'd love him even more if Kareem Hunt wasn't there. But solid pick at the 110. You've got a guy who easily can be a top 10 running back. He was 11th in PPR last year.
Yeah, well, I love Chubb here, especially in the best ball. He's a little bit easier to swallow with the whole Hunt split. I get all the problems there, but when he was healthy and he played, he was like, I think PPR RB5, despite the lack of catches. So I love the pick here.
At the 11 hole, Ryan Hallam from Fantasy Alarm takes Cam Akers, and things just officially went off the rails. At the 1-2 turn, our pal Jim Riley from BallCap Sports took Josh Allen, quarterback Buffalo Bills, and he turned that around with Austin Eckler. So he goes Josh Allen, Austin Eckler in this best ball start. Again, you start one quarterback in this league. We're going to have to get Jim on here and talk to him about that. Interesting to say the least, Dwayne.
Yeah. I like it. It's pushing something to me right now. I think Ryan was pretty excited about Davante Adams. That didn't take him very long.
So round 2 is commenced. Austin Eckler, Davante Adams goes back to Ryan Hallam. Drew Davenport gets Tyreek Hill. So, not bad. The top 2 wide receivers in 2020 going off the board back-to-back in round 2. Let's keep that wide receiver train going here. Stephon Diggs off the board. AJ Brown, excuse me. What is this, 1985? AJ Green? AJ Brown off the board. Joe Mixon. We like to talk about him a lot. And he's now off the board, middle of the second round.
Yeah, I love the Mixon pick actually in the second round. It's funny. Last year we steered everyone away from Joe Mixon, and everybody wanted to take Joe Mixon at the end of the first round. But the reasons that, had us worried last year, they're not there anymore. He's most likely going to get all the work. Anytime you can have a back that's going to get all the work. They've also improved their offensive line. As long as Mixon's healthy, he's going to be in line for a lot of touches.
All right, we're back to me because Joe Dolan picks at a lightning pace. He took Najee Harris right in front of me. So if I'm back here looking at running back, I've got DeAndre Swift, get Antonio Gibson, James Robinson, Miles Sanders, CEH. Receiver-wise, Hopkins, Ridley, Justin Jefferson are all available.
You have an easy pick. I'm kind of surprised you haven't made your pick yet.
Milking a little, my friend.
That's a lot of pressure, Brian.
What should we do here? I guess. I usually like to start running back. I'm going to go with DeAndre Hopkins right here.
Good job.
Well, I've learned something doing this show with you for 4 years, my friend. Arizona's going to throw the heck out of the ball. They're going to get back to those 4 wide receiver sets. Tons of weapons. Hey, AJ Green's actually on that team. We can talk about that and, adding the nice rookie. And Christian Kirk also could be jumping into the slot. So a lot of good things happening for DeAndre Hopkins. Bob Harris takes George Kittle right after that. So we've got a couple of tight ends off the board with Kelsey and Kittle through 2 rounds. John Daigle getting ready to make his selection here near the end of round 2. He goes Justin Jefferson. Any big surprises to you guys who are live on the air right now, besides the Josh Allen pick?
No, not for me. I don't know about the rest of the guys. It's going about like it does. I think, Hopkins slid a little bit to you. Hill getting back around the corner to Drew. That can happen. You don't see it all the time though. But after that, pretty normal. I like that Dolan just pulled the trigger so quickly on Najee Harris. We've seen him making it to the 3rd, and we've been talking about he should be a 2nd-round pick.
Steve, you had your back-to-back selections on the turn here, and you took Calvin Ridley and DeAndre Swift. You Lions homer you. Tell us a little bit about those picks.
Well, I think DeAndre Swift is going to be called upon to play a huge role in the passing game this year. With this being a PPR league, I think his value is going to be boosted up a little bit. And with Calvin Ridley, with the status of Julio Jones unclear at the moment, I think regardless whether Julio Jones is with Atlanta or without or not on Atlanta this year, I think he's in for a huge season.
I can't believe Joe Dolan's pick has gone over 10 seconds. He's got to be getting a fresh beer or something. It came back to me in the 3rd round here. It started Swift, Edwards-Helaire, J.K. Dobbins to Bob Harris right in front of me. I took Antonio Gibson. So now I have 2 running backs and a receiver. Joe Dolan took Allen Robinson. Rich Hribar pulled the trigger on our 3rd tight end, Darren Waller, who we've seen go at the end of the 2nd round before. Ryan Reynolds, you just got Keenan Allen. What do you think there with your first receiver?
So between him or Michael Thomas for me. Like Dwayne, I'm a little bit afraid that Taysom Hill is going to end up being the quarterback for the Saints. So lean with the sure thing at the position with the Chargers top pass catcher.
Michael Thomas fell to the man right after you, which was Kevin Tompkins. Did you have that same decision, Kev, or was Thomas your target the whole time?
My target was Waller the whole time, and Rich Hribar kind of snatched that away from me. So, best wide receiver on the board. Not a big fan of the running backs after Gibson. So, just stacking up wide receivers right now and seeing what's going to happen after the turn.
Dwayne, if you remember the pod we did just a week ago, this is about the point, that middle of the 3rd round, where I said, hey, running back's kind of falling off a cliff here, and I took J.K. Dobbins to make sure I had a good 2nd running back. And we're seeing it again now as we go. Drew Davenport at the 3:10 takes Josh Jacobs, Ryan Hallam, David Montgomery, and BallCap Sports, our buddy Jim Riley, with James Robinson. So now if you weren't off the cliff now, it's like a cartoon where you're hanging on by a fingernail off the cliff and they're ready to step on your fingers.
The middle of the 3rd round, really just creates this interesting spot in my mind, period, right? Because the top tier of tight ends are gone. My favorite receivers are starting to dry up and my favorite backs are gone. So you're literally taking a step down, in all of your tiers. They're still really good players, obviously, to be had. But now you're getting into guys that have more question marks, right, than some of the players that went earlier. So, I mean, and even for a guy like Antonio Gibson, we know there's a lot of question marks. J.K. Dobbins, there's a lot of question marks, but they do carry, unquestionable upside, right? So once you get past those guys and you start getting down to the end, it just changes a little bit because you start getting into the receivers that have 3 or 4 weapons on their team, like Mike Evans. We love Mike Evans. But I mean, there's three players on that team, that are going to catch a ton of balls, and you get the same thing with the Cowboy receivers and on and on. So it's an interesting spot in drafts.
We just had our second quarterback go with the second pick of the 4th round. Ryan Hallam of Fantasy Alarm selected Patrick Mahomes.
I think Drew was having dreams about that coming back to him.
Well,
boy, oh boy.
You're on the clock here, Drew, so you can make that selection.
Tyreek Hill. I kind of thought you might just go ahead and do it in the 3rd.
Boy, well, in the 3rd, I was planning on taking. I've been sniped twice now in the 2nd and the 3rd. I was going to take Eckler coming around in the 2nd. Hill was a nice consolation prize, but I didn't expect to have Miles Sanders on my team. I'll tell you that much.
Dwayne has the 40th overall selection, and he takes Kyler Murray. So, Dwayne, for you guys scoring at home, and it's a Tuesday night, why aren't you? He starts Jonathan Taylor, Stephon Diggs, Terry McLaurin, Kyler Murray.
Miles Sanders was going to be my pick, but it's just honestly, it's at that spot after he took Miles Sanders. I mean, I'm just not crazy about anybody, that's there. I like a lot of those players, but I feel like Kyler Murray can be a true difference maker at the quarterback spot. I got 4 guys that I really love at the quarterback position. So I'm not one to always take quarterbacks early, but there's just certain spots where when the tiers dry up, I don't mind it.
I'm on the clock here, and I have to be careful because the man picking after me just entered the draft room, and it's Bob Harris. Mr. Harris, Mr. Hall of Famer, how are you, sir? Welcome to the Fantasy Football Hustle.
I'm good. How's everyone doing?
Excellent. Glad to have you.
Appreciate the invite. Exciting round 1. I wish I was here for it.
Let's see. I'm on the clock here debating what I should do. Lamar's there. Dak's there. I could go wide receiver. That's so deep. You know what? Let's get crazy here. And I'm going to take Dak Prescott. Everyone loves to stack with the Cowboys. And now I'm going to put Mr. Harris on the clock in.
Well, yeah, that was horrible because Dak would have been, as I see the quarterbacks flying off the board, Dak would have been my next pick. I could take Lamar here, or I could take a wide receiver. I'm not really keen on the wide receivers I'm seeing here. I mean, I'm keen on them. They're all fantastic. Just not liking the price point. So I will. The usual flex. When I don't love everybody, I'll take someone I like a lot. Lamar Jackson. There's other quarterbacks I like as well. I just don't like. Should I check running backs just to make sure? I mean, there's just nothing here that makes me super excited. All right, Lamar Jackson, come on down.
There you go. Back-to-back quarterbacks in the 4th round. I go Prescott. Bob Harris takes Lamar Jackson. We're up to John Daigle of NBC Sports Edge. We'll see if he can keep this quarterback train a-rolling as we have 5 off the board almost through 4 rounds. Bob, we were talking about that cliff at running back that really falls off kind of here in the 3rd round. You've been doing a lot of drafts. I know you're fantastic show on SiriusXM, the Football Diehards with Mike Dempsey. You guys do a lot of best ball drafts. Is that kind of a consistent theme that you've seen so far this spring?
Yeah, I would say so. I'm, just looking at this draft. This is the running backs lasting into the 3rd round have not been lasting into the 3rd round. Most notably Swift and Edwards-Helaire. I think if I see Travis Kelce coming off in the 1st round, has been universal. Josh Allen coming off in the 1st round has not been. Maybe Tyreek Hill sneaking in there. And I think after that, it's not unusual for me to see 17 running backs coming off in the first 2 rounds. That's been more the norm.
At the turn, we saw Steve Rapin from Fighting Chance Fantasy. He took Mark Andrews and Julio Jones. So if you're looking at the 1-1 and how you could start your team that way, Steve went McCaffrey, Ridley, Swift, Mark Andrews, and Julio Jones. So nice balanced start for Steve. We're looking at Cooper Kupp now coming off the board for John Daigle, and we're back to Bob Harris with the 51st overall selection.
I'm going to go a little off the board. I just like the scoring and targets last year. You look at like weeks 7 through 15. They're phenomenal. He'll have better quarterback play this year. Yes, that's my second 49er in the first 5 rounds.
Oh man, you're gonna get Ryan Hallam upset. Don't take out his 49ers.
That's the story of my life. That's my goal in everything I do.
All right, back to me. About 40 seconds here in the 4th round. Yeah, I mean, man, wide receiver is just so deep. My God. Godwin, Deontay Johnson, Thielen, Galladay, Higgins. At running back, the only running backs left are, according to ADP, we've got ETN, Hunt, Melvin Gordon, Javonte Williams. I'm not really in love with any of those guys, so I'm going to take Chris Godwin of the Tampa Bay Bucks.
It's definitely a consideration for me. I just want, going back to Ayuk, I think he was scored over 17 points every game down the stretch from week 7 through the games he was in, week 7 through 15, but also was 3rd in the league or led all wideouts in average targets per contest in that time, 11. I like him.
It's been all wide receivers in the 5th round. Julio Jones, Cooper Kupp, Brandon Ayuk, Chris Godwin, Adam Thielen to Joe Dolan. Rich Hribar takes Tyler Lockett. Ryan Reynolds goes Deontay Johnson. And finally, Kevin Tompkins, we get TJ Hawkinson off the board. Discuss that selection.
I mean, look what else is around for Jared Goff to throw to. I mean, Drake, you know better than anybody. With that late round stack the other week. But Hawkinson, I think he's a good bet for, if Goff can get the ball to him, 100 targets there at tight end. I don't think he can really beat that in the 5th round.
For those of you who didn't catch last week's show, we were breaking down a draft that I did, and I found that if you want to, and if you're possibly drunk enough, you can draft a 3-player Lion stack from rounds 18 to 20, where I took Jared Goff, Tyrell Williams, and Brashad Perriman in rounds 18, 19, and 20. Again, it's best ball. They're going to be behind all the time. I'm going to draft a bunch of these teams. Let's have some fun. And if that hits, the victory lap of victory laps will be taken around the fantasy community. Don't you worry about that. Dwayne, Kenny Galladay from the Giants was your selection here in the 5th round. Thoughts on him going to an offense with a ton of weapons?
Just the last guy in my tier. Really, I wanted Deontay Johnson. Was really the pick that I had, teed up, and Ryan took him. So thanks, Ryan, you prick. So last guy in the tier, I just wanted to grab him because at running back and tight end, there's several that I like at this point, so one of them will make it back.
Drew, you went with Russell Wilson with the next pick. Anything else there position-wise you're into, or you really want to grab Wilson?
No, I wasn't excited about anything. That's part of the problem. I stared at it till 15 seconds left. There's a lot of wide receivers that I consider to be kind of the same right now. Mm-hmm. And so I figured, with the best ball format, I need to get a couple quarterbacks. And there's a long time before I pick again after my next one. So if there's a run, I'm going to be in trouble. So that's where I went.
Well, we got a rookie off the board, and he goes to the Godfather, Ryan Hallam. Javonte Williams, the Denver running back, is the second to last pick in the 5th round. And another rookie goes right after him, Travis Etienne of the Jacksonville Jaguars. I mean, it looks like, guys, he's playing wide receiver at rookie minicamp every single snap. So we'll see what you can get out of Etienne. That's going to be an interesting backfield for fantasy all season long. I think at this point in the draft now, we're going into the 6th round, maybe some strategy starts to play out. We'll start to see some stacks develop. Bob, what's your thought on stacking in best ball? Do you like getting a couple of micro stacks, maybe just a couple receivers from the same team? Do you like to pair up with your quarterback? What's your general mindset?
Yeah, if it works out that way, I'm looking to do that. Looking to do it on a budget, right? I'm always looking for the cheaper components, that have some upside in these situations. And I think that's an ideal place to do some stacking so you can kind of maximize the value of the lead guy. Say it's the quarterback, get some of his maybe secondary targets.
We're into round 6 with T. Higgins to Jim Riley of BallCap Sports and Chase Claypool coming back for Ryan Hallam. Interesting for Ryan, and now Drew, who's on the board here, as that was only the second wide receiver selected for Ryan's team. Drew, you only have one at the moment with 30 seconds to go in your selection. It seems with most of these, it's receiver. This fragile running back build is sort of in vogue. Are we going to get you to take a wide receiver here in the 6th?
Well, yeah, I was looking at Higgins and Claypool, so that was fun. And I was looking at Etienne too, so it's going to be a weird pick here, but we're going to go with Kareem Hunt before I got 20 more picks before it comes back.
Now, Kareem Hunt, if we want to remind our audience here, was the 10th overall running back in 2020 in terms of fantasy points scored, ahead of Nick Chubb, who missed a couple of games. So there's certainly room in that offense for multiple mouths to be fed. Miles Gaskin to Dwayne.
Yes, Kareem Hunt was who I wanted. I didn't figure you would do that already, having Chubb on your team.
I know, weird, right?
Of course, I didn't think he'd make it back to you anyway. I figured that was.
I didn't either. I was planning on one of those wide receivers, so I had to zig.
Yep, I get it.
Mike Davis, he of large thighs, goes off the board to Kevin Tompkins. He hosts a great show. You want to check that out on YouTube called Lightning Round. It's a fun podcast he does with Scott Fishbowl 9 winner Gary Haddow. Jamar Chase to Ryan Reynolds. Chase Edmonds off the board to Rich Hribar. We know Joe Dolan picks super quick, and he just took Justin Herbert, so I'm back on the clock. All right, we got a couple of running backs on my squad here, and Henry and Gibson. The best running backs on the board are Melvin Gordon. Mostert's still there. Tight end, Noah Fant. Dallas Goedert, I like him. Receiver-wise, Chark, Boyd, Juju, Fuller, Beckham. Kind of intrigued by Beckham. A little bit here. Coming up on 30 seconds. Oh, boy. There's a lot of guys here, and maybe the rookie takes a piece of the action, but I'm going to take Raheem Mostert just because he's a talented guy, and maybe until Sermon can get his legs under him, Mostert is the man in that Kyle Shanahan offense.
I'm going to invite you to a
Brian.
podium, Drake. Like, you'll probably just give your hand away. You talk about every player. You're like, well, I got pocket kings. I mean, what does the next guy have? I don't know.
We're doing a podcast here. That's what the folks want to hear. They want to hear why we're taking these folks. Michael Carter of the New York Jets to football diehard himself, Mr. Bob Harris. And now Jalen Hurts coming off the board, John Daigle.
Hey, Brian, can I just say that I appreciate you taking Mostert, because I've ended up with him in just about every draft, and it's a little ridiculous. I think I'm the highest person around, so I actively avoided him. Thank you for taking him, because I was going to take him at the end of the next round if you didn't.
We got a 49er fan down there in Ryan Hallam. I'm surprised he got by him here in the 6th round. Maybe that should tell me something. All right, Steve, we got to bring Steve back in here. Steve Rapin, Fighting Chance Fantasy. You just selected 3 straight receivers, man. Julio Jones, Courtland Sutton, Juju Smith-Schuster. Talk about your start so far. You also only have 2 running backs.
I like my start up into these last 2 picks, and there's just a big, in words for fantasy baseball players, I think it's Paul Spohr calls it a glob. There's just a glob of players here right now. So it's so hard to pick players. I wanted to try to pick guys that are solid producers. Sutton scares me, but I love his upside. Julio, I think regardless of where he plays, whether he's in Atlanta or whether he is, suffers a fate after June 2nd and is on another team, he's going to be a solid producer and looking to kind of, I don't know, what's the word I'm looking for, avenge how he's being treated right now. And I guess I'm not necessarily happy with my last 3 picks. Let's just say it that way. These guys are all assholes for picking all my players. I'm sorry. I probably shouldn't say that on your show. I'm sorry.
Tell us how you really feel, Steve.
And you're the worst of them, Kevin. No, I'm just teasing.
So after your Juju pick to start the 7th, Dallas Goedert of the Eagles goes off the board. He should have a prime, if you want to call it a breakout season. Zach Ertz is not going to be on that team. He's not showing up to any offseason workouts, according to reports out of Philadelphia. So he'll be as good as gone. And Bob, you got DJ Chark. He's a guy down there with a new rookie quarterback, and they've got a lot of other weapons out there. What are we looking at with Chark here down in Jacksonville?
I still think he's the lead player. Like, I love the talent. I just hope the offense gets a little better. He's been, productive with better quarterback play. I think he'll get that this year. I had a whole, as you said, a knot of wide receivers, and maybe some of them still available. But guys, I was looking at Sutton, probably had high hopes for him as well. But I do think Chark in this offense, they're going to be playing from behind. And instead of like last year where all they had was James Robinson, they kept handing him the ball, they're going to be throwing it. And I'm looking forward to Chark getting his cut. I know I like Marvin Jones too. Normally I would buy the cheaper component, and Jones might be it. I think Chenault's going a little higher than I like as well. I just want to go back to Carter. Sometimes I need to remember I'm not drafting him with Dempsey in every draft. Mike Dempsey, my co-host, who picks Michael Carter one pick ahead of me every damn draft we're in. And I think he's probably the best back in the Jets. I think people are really overlooking him. Very good, explosive, big play threat over 20 plays or 23 plays, I think over 20 yards last year, sharing the workload, 1,000-yard rushing season. I like him.
I mean, really, are they going to give the ball to Tevin Coleman 20 times a good game? No, come on.
And LaMichael Pirine, sorry, kid. It was great while it lasted.
After DJ Chark, I selected Odell Beckham. I mean, it was just a few years ago. He was a top, 5 draft pick in fantasy drafts. But, also about 5 years ago, I had a much better hairline. So, things change. Joe Dolan, right?
Must be nice.
Samuel.
Yeah, what's that like?
Jerry Jeudy to Rich Hribar here in the middle of round 7. Ryan Reynolds takes Brandon Cooks. We'll get Ryan back in here momentarily. Kevin, you selected Tyler Boyd. Everyone loves all the other options in Cincinnati, and we just got word that Joe Burrow should be good to go for the season opener, but everyone kind of overlooks Mr. Tyler Boyd, and he just keeps doing his work in the slot.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just trying with my receivers. I'm just trying to get targets in good, really, really good offenses. And Tyler Boyd is overlooked with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. So I mean, in the 7th, I mean, why not Tyler Boyd? I mean, we just got news about Joe Burrow. I think we're going to start to see maybe a little bit of shift in ADP, with those guys.
The most obvious pick of the 7th round, if you've ever listened to this podcast, it's Dwain McFarland taking Trey Sermon.
Yeah, no explanation needed, right? It was just time to do it, especially when Carter went in the 6th. I was like, okay, I got to do it now. And I was honestly going to take a receiver, and they just all went. Beckham was my first choice. Chark was my next choice. So you and Harris took those, and then Debo was next. Jerry Jeudy. I mean, it's like those 4. I wanted all 4 of those.
I want to say thanks to Greg Ambrosius for helping us out set up this MFL 10. You guys, if you want to check out some of the great work they do over here, I highly recommend it. Logan Thomas to the Godfather, Ryan Hallam, coming off the board. So it's starting to get dark early here at tight end as they're starting to fly off the board because Noah Fant went on the turn to BallCap Sports. So if you need a tight end and looking down the board, I do, good luck. Then starting off round 8, Will Fuller, Laviska Shenault to Drew. Drew, let's get, it is your 6th wedding anniversary and you're doing a best ball draft with us here at 10 o'clock at night. What do you think of your team so far?
Oh, I don't know. The wheels are kind of falling off here, but I was interested in a couple tight ends that are gone. I was interested in a couple receivers that I like Shenault there. It's not horrible, but I thought about quarterback, and then there's just too many. Everybody's fading it right now. I had to get another receiver, and I'm just not excited about how the last couple went. I was looking at Fuller, and sharp room. That's where we are. So,
all right, and we're back to me here in round 4. So my stream of consciousness. Let's go through my selection here: Marquise Brown, Jarvis Landry, Michael Pittman. Some of the names on the board at running back. Light a candle, say a prayer. It's Ronald Jones. I know, Bob, you're a Ronald Jones guy, aren't you?
More or less. Look, I think he was the guy until the injuries kind of caught him at the end of the year. Yes, Lombardi-Lenny got on a bit of a roll, but I don't know that Bruce Arians doesn't prefer Ronald Jones. And honestly, my concern with him this year is Gio Bernard, because neither he nor Fournette catch the ball well or caught it well last year. Turns out this Tom Brady fellow likes throwing to his running backs.
I panic picked and took Tyler Higbee just because I wanted
I appreciate that.
A wide receiver, or excuse me, a tight end. And there was really nothing else on the board that I liked. I think Higbee could have a really nice year with a competent quarterback under center. He's kind of freed up now. He's not going to be sharing targets, hopefully, at the tight end position. So, hey, let's see if we can get the same run out of him here in 2021 that we saw out of him. What was that, in 2019? Bob, you took Michael Pittman, and it's interesting because I think Carson Wentz and his big, strong arm are being so overlooked in Indianapolis, and that's a very cheap stack, by the way. If you want to take Wentz, Pittman, Hilton, even throw in, name a tight end. If you take Zach Ertz super late, he might get traded there, and you could have a great stack for a team that's probably going to win that division.
Yeah, I think Pittman, getting a little short shrift, and I understand why, but I think he came out ahead in the draft. I think he comes out ahead because of Wentz. Easy to forget the leg injury he had, that compartment syndrome early last year, but he really came on down the stretch, and I think he can be a viable wide receiver one in this offense with Wentz, and looking forward to that. I just want to say, I had some issues since Drew was complaining about his entire draft. I would like to complain about mine. The switchover shows I would love for Derrick Henry to be my first pick. But as I was
going to ask about that.
As I was shifting between shows and on my phone, I'm pounding on the screen. Apparently, you have to be younger than 59 to figure out how the technology works in the handheld devices. And the next thing I knew, I'm going, how did I get Kamara? So you're welcome, Brian Drake.
Yeah, I'll take it. I was actually debating Saquon Barkley.
Yeah, Brian thought about leaving him there. Maybe he'd come back around to you.
Yeah, it would have been nice.
Speaking of Drakes, Kenyon Drake is off the board to Steve Rapin, and he also took Aaron Rodgers, his first quarterback. So that's the 8-9 turn right there. Rodgers and Drake. We're back to John Daigle. I mean, let's talk about it, Steve. You got Aaron Rodgers. On the last show we did, I kind of did this Packers-Broncos stack, hoping that, I get the best of both worlds. I mean, say he gets traded, what do you think happens with Aaron Rodgers? Say he goes to Denver. He still has a ton of weapons, maybe better weapons. Let's be honest.
Exactly. He doesn't have Devontae Adams there, but he has the Cortland Sutton, which would be a nice stack for me. The Jerry Jeudy, who I loved when he was at Alabama. Noah Fant, he's got a great young tight end. There's definitely some weapons there in Denver. So regardless of whether it's Green Bay or Denver, I think he is going to have a really good year this year.
All right, back to me. So let's keep this Titanic a-sinking. And I went Tyler Higbee last round. So if you want to unfollow me on Twitter now, that's fine. I understand. Let's see. So Ronald Jones, I can't do Ronald Jones. I can't do, Fournette, any of these guys. Let's just keep it with this wide receiver group. And I really do think that Tua is going to have an outstanding year. Everyone is just crapping on the kid. And I'm going to take his number one wide receiver, Devontae Parker, in the 9th round.
Is that his number one receiver?
It is, damn it, because I took him there. Irv Smith to Joe Dolan. So, Dwayne, you've been a big Irv Smith guy for a few years here on this show. Is this finally the year Irv breaks out in Minnesota?
Well, yeah, I mean, you got Kyle Rudolph gone, so he's going to be on the field more. I mean, obviously, he still could be third in the pecking order, but it's in a great, offense from an efficiency standpoint. A lot of play action, a lot of mismatches versus linebacker safeties. He's a fast guy. He's an athletic player. Kind of reminds me of Delaney Walker type of player. So, yeah, I mean, I think this could totally be Irv Smith's year. I mean, even if he only gets, say, 17, 18, 19% of the targets, something like that, could still easily score 7, 8, 9 touchdowns. Could give you kind of a Robert Tonyan plus a little more athleticism kind of year. Same offense.
And more than 59 targets, maybe.
And maybe.
Tom Brady was the next selection to Rich Hribar. Ryan Reynolds, Jarvis Landry was the selection. Now, Ryan, you don't even have a quarterback yet, as we are midway through round 9. Are you okay with that?
Yeah, I'm gambling a little bit here. I see that everyone behind me has already taken one, so I'm hoping the guy that I want comes back. But since I have Mixon and Chase, so I was looking for Burrow in round, I think it was 8, maybe 7. That kind of put a wrench in my plans. But yeah, I have a guy in mind, just hoping that he lasts.
Kevin Tompkins, obviously 38 White Claws deep, took Ronald Jones. So his running back group now looks like Aaron Jones, Mike Davis, and Ronald Jones. So you're cornering the market on Joneses.
That's right. I mean, I'm not super enthused about Ronald Jones, but I mean, where are we in the 9th right now? I mean, there's worse picks. I mean, there is David Johnson.
So Dwayne, obviously influenced by me talking about Tua and what a great year he's going to have, takes Jalen Waddle in the 9th round.
Jarvis Landry, I couldn't believe is still there in the 9th round. That's another one. I'm just like, okay.
I had him queued up. I did. And then the ugliness.
As did I, which is why I'm still sitting here with 18 seconds.
we all have Jarvis Landry queued up.
All right. Closed my eyes and took him.
Antonio Brown is the selection.
And that late season run keeps going. Look out.
That's what I'm basing it on. Hopefully he learned what he needed to learn, and he'll hit the ground running this time, maybe.
A.J. Dillon to Ryan Hallam as we're closing out round 9. It is the Fantasy Football Hustle Experts Best Ball Invitational, powered by Pro Football Focus. We appreciate you guys all hanging out with us. Brian Drake, Dwain McFarland. We're hosting this little shindig. And if you're watching the draft on YouTube, which of course you should be, you have the full draft board in front of you. You see our smiling faces on the side. Shout out to our boy 5 Yard Lee across the pond in London for this sweet overlay. And we're going to end round 9 with BallCap Sports. Jim Riley taking T.Y. Hilton. And I'll throw this out there. I think T.Y. can have a major resurgence with Wentz. We talked about it a few moments ago, Dwayne, but why can't T.Y. be a guy that just flies under the radar and has, another 900,000-yard season? And in the 9th round, boy, oh boy, in a best ball, I love it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's certainly within his range of outcomes. Guys just got to stay healthy, and I think the good thing for Wentz, right, it's going to an offense, that he knows. He's really not the best deep ball passer, but that's really not what they ask T.Y. to do anymore. He's run a lot more intermediate type routes, really doing the things that, I think they hope to reincarnate, what Carson Wentz was doing, 3 or 4 years ago before he was second guessing everything. So, if he stays healthy, I think that's definitely within, his wheelhouse.
I got a feeling Jim here at the turn is praying Carson Wentz comes back to him because he followed up Hilton with Nyheim Hines. So possibly looking for some Colts stack action. Ryan Hallam with Trevor Lawrence off the board. So we'll see what the top overall pick can do down in Jacksonville. I'm on record saying Urban Meyer's there for 2 years, if that. I don't trust this guy at all. Everything he does seems to be some kind of fluke. And we've got our first team with 2 quarterbacks, and it is Mr. Anniversary, Drew Davenport, with Matt Ryan, who by all accounts should have a phenomenal season, just standing there in the pocket like a statue, throwing to an all-world cast of characters.
That's what you want right now. Guys that don't run, that's the new trend, right?
That's what I look for.
Statues.
I'm trying to find one right now.
Well, I think that there's a lot of time before it comes back to me. I was actually planning on trying to do a light Tampa stack with Brady and Antonio, but missed out on Brady. I'm just wanting to lock up that second good quarterback before I turn my attention elsewhere.
Dwayne takes Hunter Henry, whose photo on the MFL 10 makes him look almost exactly like our friend Joe Dolan, who I'm sure has been told that before. Ryan Tannehill. So now we have another team with 2 quarterbacks. Ryan Tannehill to Kevin Tompkins.
Couple skinny stacks.
There you go. You got A.J. Brown on your squad. Matt Stafford. Oh, boy, it's a quarterback run. Mr. Reynolds, you're getting on the board finally with Matt Stafford, and that could be a great pick out there in LA with this new offense and you know, the cool hair and the draft house and all that. So I love it. I think Matt Stafford could have a top 7 fantasy season.
Ryan, I was feeling this quarterback run in my bones, so I went for Ryan.
Yeah, he took Ryan from me. Ryan's the guy I wanted, but Stafford's a decent consolation prize.
Now, if you follow me on Twitter, and after this draft, none of you will, you know where I'm going here. And if you follow Drew Davenport, you know he speaks about this guy all the time. And there's going to be a lot of questions, and it's Deshaun Watson. And if he's there in the 10th round in basically every best ball draft, I pull the trigger on him. Maybe you can get him a little bit later, but I don't want to risk it. This is a guy who can be a top 3 quarterback. You're getting him in the 10th round. And if I compare him up with Dak, now I'm looking at, okay, whatever week, I'm hopefully locking up a top 5 quarterback. And especially when he's playing for Philadelphia a few months from now, because we all know that's where this is eventually going. Speaking of Philadelphia, Carson Wentz, the former Eagle, off the board. It's a run now. Sorry, down there, BallCap Sports, but you're not going to get your Wentz stack because he went to Mr. Bob Harris.
With everyone talking, I didn't think he would make it around to my next pick, so I'm hoping. I thought I would get him way later. I'll be honest with you. I did not think he would be the topic of conversation.
What are your thoughts on Watson, Bob?
I think he's not going to play. I'm about 90-10 that he shows up week 10 to total that 10 million to 30 million, but he has something like a significant back issue or something. Well, you know, and this is, I mean, there's multiple layers to this, right? I mean, none of us have any idea what's going on with the off-field issues. It sounds like the negotiations are ongoing there, but you know, once he gets past that, has to get past the league. Once he gets past that, has to get past the fact that he says he's not taking another snap with his team. You know, just there's a lot of layers. I do get the desire. I mean, it's the top 5 quarterback at this point in the draft. If he plays, there's something to be said for that. I'm not believing he's going to play.
Bob's on the clock, and he takes James Conner. All right, and I'm going to follow up with Robert Tonyan. Let's hope he can keep things going as he did last year in Green Bay. I mean, he really did come out of nowhere and finish the year as the tight end 3. Probably some some touchdown regression. But hey, I've got between him and Higbee, let's hope somebody falls in the end zone each week. Joe Dolan takes Evan Ingram, so we're on a bit of a tight end run. Rich Hribar goes Damian Harris. And Dwayne, let me ask you about this backfield in New England. They drafted Ramondre Stevenson. You've got Damian Harris. It seems like there's always a crew of characters here, but let's say Mac Jones is under center here. They're going to need somebody to run the football.
Yeah. I mean, who are you even talking about?
Damian Harris with the Patriots.
I'm on the clock, dude.
I'm trying to throw you here. You don't think I'm trying to win this thing?
I think if Mac Jones is under center, you're going to see way more James White like you used to. And if not, you know, you'll see Damian Harris. But then the problem is you've got, your touchdowns being sniped by Cam Newton. So that's the one problem I have with Damian Harris. But I think for the round you're getting him in, right, that Rich got him in, like round 11, it's fine.
I just love screwing with you while you're on the clock.
I do. I feel like, you know, prices, I mean, everyone's, you know, I'm having a hard time this year so far. And I've been in a lot of drafts, just, you know, like Darnell Mooney's a guy I like an awful lot. I mean, I don't think this is too early to take him at all, but just trying to get a feel for consistently where some of these guys are going seems odd because some of these drafts have been playing out weird early with the running backs. This one seems to have normalized a little bit, you know, with more receivers going in the second round than I've seen. But still value has been a little bit all over the board, depending on who you're drafting with. And there's some smart drafters here, Dwain McFarland.
There are some smart drafters, Mr. Harris. Hey,
I hate to
by the way, like a little birdie told me, I mean, are you moving to Texas?
It's possible. Yes.
It's possible.
Entirely true.
We're gonna have to get together for lunch soon.
I'll be there by the end of July.
Wow. Right. We're gonna book.
We've got a lot of Kings Classic folks in here also. A lot of folks are going to be heading out to Canton for Bob Lung's event. So shout out to our friend Bob. I picked up his consistency guide this week. It showed up in the mail. That's going to be a blast. Can we get Dwain McFarland to show up in Canton, Ohio? Bob and I shared a breakfast or two out there, and
we do. It's a ritual. Along with Steve driving me all over town. There are many rituals there.
So it sounds like you need somebody to take you to dinner. You've got breakfast covered. You've got your chauffeur. You just need somebody to do dinner.
Right. It'll be me and Clay and Marcus Grant that are all piled into Steve's car.
You need me for those 10 or 11 p.m. coffee runs to Starbucks.
That is a fact. I live on the Starbucks. There's no lying here.
And I will
stuff me in the trunk, Steve.
What's that, Kevin?
Just stuff me in the trunk.
Perfect. I have an Equinox. You don't even have to get stuffed in. There's plenty.
Hey, there we go.
So BallCap Sports, Jim Riley couldn't get his Carson Wentz stack, so he picked up Tua.
Right.
Rounded that out. He's a Bills fan, so he took Devin Singletary, another kind of forgotten guy now.
Yeah, I don't think you have to be a Bills fan to take Devin Singletary in the 12th round.
No, I mean, remember last year, everyone's looking at him like, man, Devin Singletary is going to be kind of the guy. He was probably going, third, fourth round, I'd say?
Right. As you look at some of these backs and the guys I was talking about, the cheaper components, James Conner, or Singletary, there's a handful of guys that I just want to get the second guy because I think they might be the first guy. There's another one on my list, but I think it's just as likely Devin Singletary outproduces Zach Moss, who's going a fair amount earlier than him in most every draft I see.
There's Gronk. We've got back-to-back tight ends here as we are in round 12 to Drew Davenport. He went Jonnu Smith in the 11th. Rob Gronkowski, he of Patriots fame, in round 12. So what do you think about this back-to-back tight end situation you got here, Drew?
Yeah, well, I waited a little long. I think I was the last one to take one, but there's still plenty of guys here to throw darts at, and if I got 3 of them by the end of the draft, I'll feel fine with it.
Joe Dolan taking Baker Mayfield. If you take Deshaun Watson, chances are you got to take a third quarterback. It might not be ideal, but you really do need to jump on it. There's a lot of good options here still. If I'm going to do kind of a wing and a prayer here at quarterback. Let's look at running back. Any upside guys here really sticking out to me? Oh, Todd Gurley. Yeah, here we go. Keyshawn Vaughn. Oh, my God. Look at the value falling to me. J.D. McKissick, Jameson Crowder, Gabe Davis. Ugh.
I think LaShawn McCoy's still out there if you want him.
Not for long, my friend. I don't know really how much I expect out of this guy in kind of a low-octane passing offense, but he could be the one there and be the prototypical X, and that's Rashad Bateman, the rookie for the Baltimore Ravens. So we'll see what we can get out of the rookie. I'm going to follow it up, Bob Harris, with Henry Ruggs. Hopefully we can get a little more out of him this year, Bob.
I wanted to keep that 17.5 yards per catch, but do it on about 100 catches. I know, I'm optimistic.
That's very optimistic. That's a good wish.
Talking positivity into the universe never hurt anybody, Dwain McFarland.
I like it.
If you're wondering about the Hall of Famers team so far, Bob selected Alvin Kamara, probably begrudgingly, or the computer did at least. So Kamara, Kittle, Dobbins, Lamar Jackson, Brandon Ayuk, Michael Carter, DJ Chark, Michael Pittman, Corey Davis. Got his backup quarterback with Carson Wentz, and James Conner and Henry Ruggs.
I feel like that rushing duo of Dobbins and Jackson is what's really going to put me over the top.
I really like Adam Troutman. I know Evan Silva, friend of the show, has been tweeting a little bit about him in New Orleans. But again, you worry about that quarterback situation. Do you trust either of those guys to get the ball to the weapons down in the Big Easy? Steve with Daniel Jones. So your quarterbacks now, Steve, are Aaron Rodgers and Daniel Jones.
Daniel Jones is to me, this could be a breakout season for him. He does add some rushing ability, had over 400 rushing yards last year in 14 games. So, he's got that 400 or 500 yard rushing. But with bringing in Kenny Galladay, the weapons that they already have with the Sterling Shepard, the Golden Tate, the Evan Ingram, and of course with his running back who catches a ton of balls out of the backfield, and Saquon, I think this could be a breakout year for him. So I'm going upside here. That's, best ball. I want the upside guy.
Yeah, no question. And Gabe Davis is off the board. So it's getting a little dicey now at wide receiver. Let's be honest. There's names that you'll know out there, but there's nobody you're going to get super excited about. So
I like the Gabe Davis pick.
I'm back on the clock.
There's a guy who'll get 17.5 yards a catch.
Exactly.
And get more than Henry Ruggs. Bastard.
When John Brown was healthy last year, he had some solid games. Gabe Davis steps into that. I mean, if he can step into those shoes, it could be a good year.
So I'm back on the clock with about 30 seconds. Kind of stumped. Let's see. What do we want to do here? Let's look at the wide receivers. Nothing I'm too excited about. I have nothing going on with my stacks. Let's see. We're going to take Christian Kirk. Pray something happens positive for him. I've got 2 Arizona wide receivers now. Little correlation between those two. We can get some shootouts in the desert, which we hope happens. Not that I own the quarterback, but, if he throws one, let's hope it's to one of my guys. Joe Dolan with Elijah Moore from the New York Jets. Paris Campbell, a name we've talked about on the Hustle before from the Indianapolis Colts, goes to Rich Hribar from Sharp Football Analysis. And man, Dwayne, if we can just get Paris Campbell to be healthy for 5 minutes, geez Louise, the guy can do something.
I know it started off pretty good last year. Showed a little preview into what could happen. So he's just going to have to stay healthy, though. It's kind of getting to that point where if he can't do it this year, it's going to be really dicey.
Ryan Reynolds is on the clock now, and he takes Darrell Henderson of the Rams. Talk us through that one, Ryan.
Not really anything I'm super enthusiastic about right now. I have Stafford, so in the off chance that Akers misses some time, I have a potential stack there. And I have a couple quarterbacks in mind too, but taking them now would be a bit of a reach.
I know what you're talking about. There's a lot of good quarterback depth here still. Guys who are on the board, if you're wondering out there at quarterback, include Derek Carr, Big Ben. Then you've got rookies like Justin Fields, Zach Wilson, Trey Lance. And then you've these Saints quarterbacks, which become very good values in best ball because you don't know who the hell is going to be on the field. Dwayne with Zach Ertz, hoping he gets traded.
Yeah, at this point, I really don't care. All the guys I wanted that I thought would go later were in too good of a room. Like Ferkser and Troutman don't normally go in those spots. Those are my guys. So with them gone, I'll just, hey, everybody keeps saying Ertz is gone, but he's still on the roster. So we'll see what happens.
That's actually some of the low spots that I've seen Ferkser go, actually. So
that's some of
the one of the lower spots I've seen Ferkser go. He's been kind of getting up there as the hype's kind of started to chug there.
Yeah, I mean, their updated ADP as of this morning, he's pick 178. So I mean, it's quite a bit early. But yeah, I haven't drafted a ton of drafts, so I'm just now getting in the groove. I wanted to get broken in, do the first one with Bob Harris. So let him teach me a thing or two.
All I'm teaching you is how to fail miserably at the moment. My next good pick will be my first.
Those are always the best ball teams you do the best with. When you look at it and you go, oh my God, this team is horrendous. And then 6 months later, you look at your account and you go, wow, I've got, like Dwayne, I got $300 in it.
I feel like this is one where I'm either reaching a bit to make sure I don't miss out on a guy I've been missing out on in every draft, or I'm waiting just a little long on guys that I really want and only to watch Joe Dolan or Rich Hribar grab them away from me.
Yep, same spot here.
Yeah, I've been living that too the last few rounds.
Yeah, if Joe or Rich are out there and they want to pop on, they're more than welcome to jump in here and chop it up with us. We've just started round 14. Kadarius Toney and Jamison Crowder.
Boot me out of here.
Rondell Moore to Ryan Hallam. And we're back to Drew. John Brown, that was one of your quicker selections of the night.
Yeah, with authority, John Brown.
Well, at this point, it's pretty thin at wide receiver. I got to have one. So he was my first up.
Now there's the stack of all stacks, Drake.
I was wondering when somebody would comment on the car John Brown stack.
Terry McLaurin and Curtis Samuel. I don't even need Kyler Murray. Somebody want Kyler Murray?
Trey Lance off the board to Ryan Reynolds. That was a guy that I was kind of waiting on. Oh, and Joe Dolan snags Justin Fields. Oh boy, I was going to take one of those two. So now it's down to me. I do need a third quarterback because of my selection of Deshaun Watson. And you'd like to get guys who run and they can kind of make things happen, little second reaction read. And there's nobody who exemplifies making things happen after the play and running like Ben Roethlisberger. So that's going to be my pick. Hey, who knows? Remember, what did they start? 10, 11-0 last year? If he can stay upright and his elbow doesn't fall off, there's no reason he can't put up some numbers for me here in a best ball as my, second, third quarterback. All right, Bob, all the pressure's on. 14th round, 166th overall.
So I'm gonna push it one more. I don't want to do that. Yes, I do. Man, that's horrible. There's some horrible decisions being forced on us people out here. So I'm of the opinion that Joe Brady is magic.
Ooh, Sam Darnold is the selection.
And honestly, I don't usually draft two quarterbacks if I feel really good about at least the job security, the first two guys that I really do about these guys. So it just feels like I don't want to pay for all the guys that I really want to draft right now. I'm drafting them too early. Like I can't draft everyone in the 20th round. I should realize this.
I know. I feel the same way. When I start looking at the running backs that are left on the board, I'm like, oh, I love like 3 or 4 of these guys. I'll get them later. And then you realize there's no later.
Right. There's one that I really want that I know someone's going to snag, momentarily right before I should have snagged him.
Steve, you're up here on the turn. We're going to end round 14 and going to round 15. And there goes Chuba Hubbard.
He had no choice there. That was
with Christian McCaffrey. I figured I better. And I didn't want to necessarily do this, but I can't believe this run on quarterbacks that we've had.
Right.
And with Aaron Rodgers' future uncertain and with him as my QB1, I'm going to go with Jordan Love as my third quarterback.
Zach Wilson off the board. Let's see. What do we have? 5 of the last 7 picks have been quarterbacks. Wow.
You really snagged Roethlisberger on me. He was one of the last kind of like solid producers, and not that I love him, but you snagged him on me.
This is the only run I've started the whole draft.
So I wish I was not drafting him here, but I do think Philip Lindsay's going to be the best back in Houston.
Yes.
Yeah.
I agree. I think, in round 15, I love that one.
All right. We're here in round 15. I'm back up, and I'm going to go down the ADP a little bit here, but it's a player that I think is going to be such a value in fantasy. And after week 1, every waiver wire article will feature him because he's going to become Tom Brady's best friend, and that's Giovanni Bernard. Let's see if he can go down there and catch a few passes and in a possible shootout against the Cowboys.
Can't. I mean, for a quarterback that loves throwing to his running backs, I mean, Bernard seems like just – I mean, who is making all the roster decisions in Tampa? Tom Brady. I mean, there's no doubt about this.
Mm-hmm. Fresh off another 3-second pick of Tariq Cohen. Dolan of fantasypoints.com. How are you, Joe? Defending champ in the house.
Sorry, I've been
hate that, Joe.
watching the NBA playoffs. Just kind of having a good night here. I hope everybody's having a good night. Bob, did I just steal your guy?
There was no way he was making it back. It was between him and Lindsay. I thought maybe Cohen makes it back.
Bob, I have the most boring running backs in the history of fantasy football on my team. So I've
been waiting for you because nobody can be as amazingly critical of my drafts than you, and I've been eagerly anticipating the beatdown I should be taking here.
Well, I haven't even looked at your roster, Bob.
I know. See, McKissick was another guy. There was like 3 running backs I wanted to take right here.
No, Bob, I love your Lamar Jackson pick, by the way.
Damn it.
I was completely out on him last year, and I am so in this year as like a 5th or 6th round pick. Like that's a winning pick.
Mm-hmm.
That makes me nervous.
Anyway, I hope you're having a good night, guys. I'm sorry I'm late, but
hey, better late than never. It's fine. If you're having a good night, that's all that matters.
Oh, I'm having a good night.
Guy wins the league, comes strolling in the 14th round. Hey, everybody! Thanks for the cash last year, nerds.
Yeah.
Thanks, Balboni.
Tough draft, though. Tough draft, guys.
It is.
Yeah, no Balboni this year, unfortunately.
Thanks for the donation, Balboni. I'll yeah. That got me into this draft for free.
We got some plans for our friend Balboni. He may reappear on our YouTube channel sooner or later, in one animated form or another. We're ending round 15. Jeff Wilson Jr. of the 49ers goes off the board to BallCap Sports. He'll double up here with a pick to start round 16. How's life down there in South Carolina, Joe?
We're getting back to normal. I guess many would argue South Carolina's always been at normal. I haven't acted like so, but I went out to eat indoors for the first time in over a year last week. I'm vaccinated and all that, and it was a really pleasant experience. I'm like super excited to. I mean, I've lived in a new state, and I don't know anything about the state, right? Like, I mean, I haven't done anything. I just hang out in my living room. And I mean, I know that's what I'm doing tonight, but I'm going to Atlanta this weekend. I'm going to have a good time. It's fun.
Nice.
Actually exploring a new part of the country.
Beautiful. And more importantly, are you drinking anything good these days?
Oh, no. During the pandemic, you drink a little too much, and you end up getting. I actually have 4 roses tonight, so
okay,
that's what I got here. But
on deck.
I didn't have the refill tonight yet, but I bought a Peloton. Oh, damn it! Oh,
Rich Hribar taking
Ate him.
Peloton?
He is killing me. Oh, he took pits earlier. The only time that I've actually had to look for a pick. And let's shoot for the stars.
Diami Brown.
I took Deebo Samuel in the 7th round earlier, and I felt good about it. And then I realized it was one of those brain fart moments when you're not into the drafting mode yet, and I realized that Kyle Pitts was still on the board, and I should have taken Kyle Pitts. And Reeves and I actually thought he was going to make it back to me because Reeves already had a tight end. God, that was a mistake. Anyway, yeah, I hope everybody's having a good night.
Yeah, nothing gets by Rich.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're over here talking about drinking 4 roses and 4 locos and everything else, and he's over here just sniping away. I took Rashad Penny here in the 16th round. We know they want to pound the rock in Seattle. I think the days of Russ cooking are long gone after last season. And if Penny can stay healthy, we know he's got first-round capital. He was semi-productive for the 5 minutes he was healthy a few years ago. If they can pair Carson and Penny, why can't he be a really nice 1B in Seattle?
Because Chris Carson is Pete Carroll's favorite. Nothing will ever change that.
He could be like a 3B Drake.
And Kenneth Gainwell, my birds, to Mr. Harris. Interested to see how he plays out in Philly. And Joe, I know that our buddy Adam Kaplan is over the moon about this guy, especially before the draft. He just loved Gainwell's tape.
Cosell loves him.
Yeah.
But Just a great receiver. And you look at what Sirianni did with Taylor and Nyheim Hines in Indy. It makes a lot of sense. And Philly's slot receiver right now is Greg Ward.
Mm-hmm.
You can see a lot of reason to think Kenneth Gainwell's going to see the field as a rookie. This is a kid who played wide receiver in college for a good portion of his snaps. And Memphis is a team that produced Antonio Gibson, who was a slot receiver in college and then became a bell cow back in the NFL. So, there's a lot of reason to think there's a lot of upside there.
You are up.
All right.
She's talking to you, Mr. Dolan. You can make your.
He is. I'm sorry, I have it.
We're cruising through the 17th round here of the Experts Best Ball Invitational. We have a defense off the board. Ring the bell. Bob Harris took the LA Rams. I followed it up with an equally as exciting pick of AJ Green. I've talked about him earlier. Let's get him on the squad. I've now got 3 Arizona wide receivers. So if somebody scores here, let's pray to God it's one of these 3 gentlemen.
Let's see here.
This is the longest Joe's taken all night.
Yeah, I'm pumped, guys.
You threw him off, man.
The best terrible player in the NFL.
MVS.
Marquez Valdez-Scantling. I always try to figure out who's the best bad player in the league. And I also try to figure out who's the worst good player in the league. I already have the worst good player in the league. That's Evan Ingram. MVS might be the best bad player in the league. So with MVS, I'm really hoping that Aaron Rodgers is there. Give me 3 weeks, man. That's all I need.
We've got to run on defenses now. It can't be too early for a defense. Obviously, there's only 4 rounds to go here. When Bob Harris goes Rams, Rich Hribar takes the defending champion Bucks, and Kevin Tompkins, you picked up the football team. What a squad they have. No Ryan Kerrigan anymore, but still a great, great unit in the nation's capital. Dwayne's struggling now. 9th round, 17th round, 201st overall pick. Alan Lazard.
All you need is that New Orleans game 4 times.
I just need Aaron Rodgers there.
Yeah, really.
I'm like a 1090 that Deshaun Watson, is out. I'm 90-10 that Rodgers is going nowhere.
Adam Levitan would love the pick Drew Davenport just made. Mike Boone coming off the board here in the 17th round.
Yeah, I don't know what the heck's going to happen there in Denver, but I do think that he's got a shot to have a role. At least that's what they're saying.
I thought about him earlier on. Let's see what the Godfather does as we're getting close to the end of round 17. Interesting QBs here on Ryan's team. He started, obviously, pick 11. Patrick Mahomes comes back with Trevor Lawrence. Not sure if he's going to take another one. Not that there's a whole lot left, to be honest, at the QB position. You got Cam, Garoppolo, Taysom Hill, Teddy Bridgewater, Mac Jones. Take a flying dart at one of these guys, and they could hit. Let's say Taysom Hill is the starter in New Orleans. Taysom Hill could be a top 10 or better fantasy quarterback all season long, and you could get him now in the 18th round. BallCap Sports, Jim Riley. Let's see what he does. Oh, what a homer pick. The Bills defense. What do you guys think? Bills defense, are they going to be back this year? Or it seemed like they struggled from a fantasy perspective in 2020. No? Okay, I'll just keep talking to myself.
Everybody's like, did you just ask about a defense?
Yes, we're asking about the defense. Anyone who's still following and watching this draft here, just
all I know is I drafted Aaron Donald. That's the only guy I know on defense. So
Dalton Schultz. So Kings Classic wise, Joe, you going to be out there at the Hall of Fame?
I leave that up to Sirius. I don't know. I hope. I've hosted it every year, I'd like to participate one year, but I've done the hosting. I don't know if I'll be there. I hope so.
Well, if you're there, you can sit in while I give my seat up for the auction. I'll host and you draft my auction team.
$19 for Alex Smith, Bob. That was a.
Hey.
I don't know if it was that much, but I know you drafted Alex Smith and like Aaron Rodgers in the same draft.
If nothing brings you more joy than my overly aggressive price enforcing.
Oh, Bob. I can't let him go for that much. Click.
I can't. I just can't. It's horrible, man. It's like an affliction.
2 years ago, my first Kings Classic, I'm kind of in this B room. There's an A room and a B room, and let's be honest, I'm in the B room. If there was a Q room, I'd be over there. But in our draft, Michael Thomas, again, this is 2 years ago. Michael Thomas gets passed by. Joe comes screaming in with a microphone and sticks it in my face like, hey, moron, how do you let Michael Thomas go? Full disclosure, I'm pretty sure he was already crossed off on my board, so I didn't think he was there. It's a 14-team draft. It's crazy.
It was, by the way, Camp and I were right about that.
Yes, you were.
There were some ridiculous running backs who went before him, and it was a 14-teamer, so people were scared about running backs, but it was one of those drafts where I was like,
and you're up, Joe, by the way.
Come on, I'm aware. Whatever. Colts defense. It was one of those drafts where I was like, all right, I understand that there's problems here, with running backs if you don't draft one, but Michael Thomas, that was when he ended up having the record-setting season. So that was one of the validating rants I've ever had on the radio. Let's not go back to some of my awful ones, but that one was a good one.
If we're counting how often you and Camp are right, it's about 98% of the time.
I don't know about that.
I'm pretty sure it's about 98%.
Matt and I haven't hosted together in a while, by the way.
Yeah, how about Matt Camp, Mr. WWE now?
Yeah, it's
killing it over there.
It's been a while since we've hosted together. It's, I only pop on every now and again on the channel. I guess, Bob, I'm not sizzly enough for them.
It happens. Trust me, I am aware of how this works. When you hit a certain age, like me, you're just fortunate to be hanging on.
Oh, Bob, you're in way better shape. You're way better looking than I am. But
and then Rich Hribar comes on and makes us all feel like heels.
Yeah, speaking of good looking, Rich Hribar from sharpfootballanalysis.com. How are you, sir? Welcome to the show.
What's going on, gentlemen?
Yeah, we're just cursing your name as you keep sniping everyone left and right.
Oh, no, man. You guys got me. I tried to build a Cowboy stack. You guys said no. I tried to build a Seahawks stack. You guys said no. I tried to do a couple things that you guys shut the door on me.
Well, if we're building stacks, here I go. Yeah. Boom! Fire the dismissal, except this time it's Dan Arnold.
Yeah, we've been conspiring the whole time, Rich.
I mean, once Josh Allen went 112, the QBs were on it. We're just going to be on tilt the rest of the draft.
Bob, you just built a stack out of bubble bath. What is the Dan Arnold and wait a minute, the Dan Arnold.
Man, do it. You're almost there.
It's like if McGiver decided to make a stack.
That's like Dan Arnold and Sam. That's like when you figure out the etymology of a word, how a word evolves into its current form. They ask you on Jeopardy, this evolves from the Latin of Darnold evolved from the Latin of Dan Arnold, and people just saying it too quickly.
That is so and then you keep saying it, and it just does not sound right anymore after you say it for the fifth time.
You ever look at a word and when you look at it long enough, it just doesn't look like a word anymore.
Every word. Every word.
Anything that ends in UGH, and you're like, what the hell is that word?
Furlough.
Yeah, that's not a word. It just looks terrible.
So we're going to get Joe and Rich to make picks live on the air here in the 19th
Thank you very much
round.
for reminding me I was on the clock.
Well, they're going to be exciting picks.
Oh, I better take a defense here. I'll take the Saints.
Yeah, you want to talk excitement. This is where hardcore fantasy guys are hanging out because we can get in-depth analysis on Dan Arnold, Deshaun Jackson in 2021, and now the Eagles defense off the board to Rich.
Oh, well, they just signed Ryan Kerrigan, here's the problem with drafting the Eagles defense if you presuppose Ryan Kerrigan's going to be important. Ryan Kerrigan has about, I don't know, I'm going to take a guess out of nowhere, 85 career sacks. 67 of them are against the Eagles.
Oh, he killed them.
So, like, he is literally the only player who gives Lane Johnson trouble.
At this point, Adam Kaplan may be playing corner for the Eagles because they have nobody on the other side outside of Darius Slay.
Really need to see Kaplan in football pants just once in my life.
Rich, let's talk about
way worse than I meant it to sound.
No, it sounded exactly like what you wanted it to sound like.
It did.
And the 15-minute explanation he would have for why football pants were on him would be golden.
Rich, I'd love to break down your squad here. And you started with Zeke Elliott. So let's just get, first of all, at that, what did you have? The 6th overall pick. Is Zeke somebody you think is going to bounce back and have one of those huge seasons? Or, were you hoping somebody else fell to you?
No, I think Zeke's a little bit undervalued by a few spots. I mean, you look at the amount of time that those 3 stud offensive line missed. They combined to miss 36 games last year. Well, Al Collins didn't play. Zach Martin missed 6 games, and Tyron Smith only played 2 games. You get those guys back. You get Dak back. We know there's going to be points scored. In the first 5 games, Zeke was fine, and he's only one of 3 backs that have caught 50 or more passes the past 3 years. So I think he's undervalued a couple spots. Everyone wants to jump off the boat because that we're at the dynasty breaking point where everyone wants to sell the 26-year-old back. But I think he's still got one more power season at least in him, and we're going to see eventually a couple of these guys are going to be good approaching 30. It's we had a tide shift in the running backs, like with LaShawn McCoy and Jamal Charles and Marshall Lynch. All those guys got old at once and ushered in a new tier of running backs. And a couple of these guys are going to sneak through and push being good towards 30.
Your other running backs include Chase Edmonds, Leonard Fournette, and Damian Harris. So that hyper-fragile build they like to talk about. Let's speak on that group.
Yeah, I mean, early at this point in the season, I definitely like to go more hyper-fragile, especially in best ball 10s as opposed to FFPC where you have to start 3 wide receivers here. I like to get that one anchor running back and then just throw kind of some running backs at the wall earlier. Kyle Pitts was kind of a luxury pick. He just never goes this low, so I figured I might as well draft him. But then I flew too close to the sun at quarterback, and we're going to need Jameis to pull some magic out.
Well, let's see. Taysom Hill's still on the board. You have 3 defenses already, so you can kind of lock down that Saints quarterback room if you want to.
Yeah, I'm just going to – I think at this point I'm just going to roll the dice and hope that Jameis is the starter and he's enough with Brady, which probably won't be. But I'm going to throw one more running back bullet on the way out the door here.
Javian Hawkins, that's a popular –
Mike Davis just got even bigger. Somebody dared pick Hawkins?
He is built like a house.
You are on deck.
All right. Darrell Williams.
You are up.
One more dart on the way out.
There you go. Joe's final pick of the night.
But my team's kind of fun. I do kind of like it. It's just that I don't, you need Winston to play.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you need Edmonds to play 8 games in MetLife Stadium too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. He's still living off of that one game. Edmonds isn't a dude I really like, but I like him in these best ball formats a lot.
I think my favorite pick of yours is the 12th round selection of Nelson Aguilar, who's going
every draft, baby.
Super late. Yeah, I mean, this is the number 1 wide receiver in New England.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's kind of bulletproof with either quarterback too. Mac Jones is deep ball, but Cam Newton actually was really good downfield last year. A lot of people just don't know because he was throwing to vagabonds, but he was actually really poor in the quick game. So but he was really good throwing downfield last year. Obviously, everyone remembers that Seattle game on Sunday night when he was throwing dimes, but he was really good the whole season. He was 5th in deep ball accuracy last year, so I think you can still, pair up with Aguilar there. Hit a couple in these best ball formats. The quintessential in a best ball drop here by a fantasy analysis.
How about this? We roll in round 20, and look who shows up. It's John Daigle of NBC Sports. How you doing, John? Welcome to the party.
Was going to show up at some point. Just needed it to calm down a little bit in the room. The room was filled with stars. I wasn't going to get in y'all's way.
Well, let's take a peek at do you still call it Roto World, by the way? Like, how hard is that to break that?
I do, but also I'm going to get calls from the bosses every time I do.
I like the hoodie too, the Edge hoodie. That's pretty nice. You had the second overall selection, and you went Dalvin Cook. I know, Joe, from looking at your rankings on your site, you have Dalvin Cook very high also.
Yeah, I got him. Actually, I personally ranked him number one. I mean, it's one of those things where, like, I feel like he could be in store for a huge year with the offensive line improvements. I mean, taking McCaffrey over him isn't like bad or anything, but I just think Cook could have a huge year.
Well, he came back from injury and handled 220 of the team's 250 carries. Like, Alexander Madison didn't matter at all down the stretch. And so if we get anything even resembling that workload, like, he's locked into the RB2 spot. Locked in.
Yeah, normally you'd be worried when the offensive coordinator leaves, except when the new offensive coordinator is the son of the old offensive coordinator. I'm pretty sure they're going to keep going down that same path. Clint will duplicate Gary.
John, what do you think of CEH? That's going to be a guy who, as we get into home leagues, I think people are going to feel so burned by him because he was going first round last year, and you just got him starting the third.
And I'm admittedly higher on him. But remember, until the point whenever he had to battle Le'Veon Bell, until that point, week 6, he averaged 17.8 carries and 5.2 targets per game. And so I just assume with Bell out the picture and Damian Williams gone as well, that he just walks right back into that workload. Darrell Williams might be the better pass protector, but overall, like with the range of outcomes also being CEH handling carries inside the 5-yard line again when healthy, it's like the ceiling. He's not being drafted for his ceiling.
Yeah, I think Darrell Williams has been one of my most drafted last round kind of guys.
That's fair.
Mm-hmm.
The mentor.
So forgotten about.
yeah, it's Daigle's guy. He's off the mentor train now.
You can still be on the mentor train, but also be on the CEH train. You can do both this year.
Let's throw some nuggets in there every so often.
Actually, what I missed the most, what I love this draft, we've all been doing like the underdog and the tournament style best ball drafts. Like, dude, the Galaxy brain has given me such a headache. I miss the 12-man industry leagues where we're just trying to do the format, like 3 quarterback, 2 or 3 tight ends, 5 or 6 running backs, 6 or 7 receivers, two defenses who bye weeks don't stack. Like, I miss that range so much.
Oh yeah, we're into it, man. We're going to be covering the draft. And the draft plan like no other here. That's going to be kind of our niche here going through the summer. So expect a few more of these, gentlemen, and we appreciate the time here. So, John, since we've got you in here, and Rich, you guys joined late, just give me your general kind of look at the board, look at 2021. What are some thoughts that you'd love to give the audience? Maybe some guys you want to plant your flag on for 2021 and guys you just kind of more out on. John, we'll start with you.
Rich got it right. Elliott is actually my RB4 overall, and I'm going to move him to RB3, I believe, because all the running backs we have questions about, Kamara and the situation under center, Saquon Barkley in the offense with Jason Garrett and Daniel Jones, there are no questions for Elliott. Everyone tries to tout Tony Pollard, but Tony Pollard was a top 35 running back one time last year, and that was the one game that Elliott missed. And Elliott hadn't missed a game before that as an Ironman before his rookie year at Ohio State. So that just doesn't matter to me at all. He also played the second toughest rushing schedule, comes back into an offense with a healthy offensive line, as Rich talked about earlier, after averaging, small sample I know, but career high 7.5 targets weekly. So I'm trying to be ahead and above the industry on Elliott all season. Other than that, I have it right here. Not saying it's right, but I do think the Jets stack is kind of a sneaky one because Wilson is going to play 17 games no matter what. And you can get Denzel Mims, who it did profile as an alpha coming out of college. Corey Davis, who who exploded, I should say, as a great second receiver across from A.J. Brown finally last year. And it's dumb, but I'm still on Chris Herndon as well. So I just think it's easy to get a jet stack going with Michael Carter, too, who is still undervalued in most drafts, not this industry one.
Rich, how about you? Some guys you're planting your flag on for 2021.
I mean, I generally don't fall like in love or hate any players. I try to, I just kind of try to build teams that are structurally sound and the kind of the theme that I'm going for. Never trying to close the door on a player or try to go too high on a player. Just try to stay even keel. I guess there's some guys, I guess you say it would be higher on. I mean, I think Tyler Lockett is undervalued. Tyler Lockett had 135 targets and 100 catches, and people are just mad because they weren't like evenly distributed. But imagine saying that coming into the year, like you're going to get 135 Tyler Lockett targets, and they still just add Dwayne Eskridge, who is a 25-year-old guy who played in the MAC, kind of more athlete than wide receiver. I don't think that he carves out a big, kind of a role. So it's just really going to be those two guys again. I tried to get that stack as my plan B after you took Dak here. And then Russ went like a little earlier than he goes too, so I got cut off on both of those stacks. I'm still into Judy as well. I'm like usually get him like a round ahead of time. Michael Carter too. I saw Bob was talking about Michael Carter earlier. He goes so late in the underdog drafts. Just been getting him so much, like a couple rounds ahead of where I think he'll end up. Here he went kind of where I think he'll end up going in August. In that 6th round, I think he'll be a 5th, 6th round player. Those guys have just been undervalued. Zach Moss, too, in these best balls. I don't really want him in redraft, but I mean, here in these best balls, I think that he's kind of a value because I've been more building these hyper fragile builds at this point. So I'm locked in on kind of those guys at this point, the guys that I've been kind of drafting. When we get to August and I'm more running back centric at the top, I'll probably flip. But those are the guys in these best balls. And Joe took Tariq Cohen real ahead of me real late. Him, James White, those guys are super valuable where they go in these types of leagues. A lot of people think that they're like safe floor guys and you want to have them in redraft, but they're way better in best ball because you don't have to predict game script and when they're going to score touchdowns. You just get the games that they hit in these types of format. Those guys are way more valuable in this type of format than they're given credit for. Tariq Cohen's another guy I kind of just tack on the end of drafts because his role is pretty safe. Like we know what how he's going to utilize. But redraft, you've got to try to pick out the 2 or 3 games he really pops and has those RB1 weeks, and you're just not going to do that steadily. But I love grabbing those guys in these kind of drafts.
Broncos also blessed with the league's easiest projected passing schedule, which you can find at sharpfootballstats.com, which I understand is unsexy considering it's Drew Lock and Teddy Bridgewater. But if Bridgewater wins, and remember, he completes the ball, whereas Drew Lock does not, that's all we need for those yak monsters on the team. So sneaky stacks there as well.
Yeah, Broncos are dead last in catchable target rate for wide receivers. Even if we just get Teddy. And, Vic Fangio is a guy, like, it's not going to take long for Teddy to adhere, like, the strengths of his game to a defensive-minded coach. If Drew Lock comes out and burns a couple bridges real early, I mean, I think and if Teddy doesn't even just outright win the job.
Man, oh, man. Bob Harris, let's ask you, anybody you're planting your flag on for 2021?
Yeah, a number guy. I'd like to plant it on Carter more. But I drafted Mike Dempsey too much, who is aware of it. So like me and Dempsey, by the end of July, we'll have driven up the ADP of like 7 players that we really love because we sit on the radio and talk to each other into all these picks. And Carter is one of those I'll be picking. Philip Lindsay's another one. Again, I mentioned earlier, I think he'll end up being the top back in Houston. You get him for next to nothing. And I think James Conner again. I mean, there's going to be Arizona might get near the goal line at some point, and I think he'll be the option there. We'll see what Edmonds can do. I do think he's the lead back there. And another guy, you see some value on some of these guys. We get a little fearful, and maybe the fear will diminish. But the Josh Jacobs of the world, where we all just think he's going to evaporate because Kenyon Drake showed up. I mean, I don't think he's going to totally evaporate. I mean, will it dip a bit? Yeah, but just when you look at the price and where he's going right now, I think, man, I'll take some of that. So. There's a number of guys I really feel comfortable planting my flag on. I think some of the wide receivers early, I may be a little higher on Kenny Golladay than other people are, mostly because Rich Hribar's son tells me that Danny Dimes is the way to go.
Dwayne, how do we get PFF to bump up our budget a little bit and bring these guys back every single week for a show? They don't need us. Holy smokes.
Yeah, exactly. I'll put in a call.
Well, anything else, guys, before we get out of here? We've taken up enough of your time. We're over the 90-minute mark. If you're listening to the show out there, we hope you enjoyed it. And definitely you'll follow all these guys on social media. Go to their websites. Check out, Bob's got the magazines coming out soon. And that's always a favorite thing for me to see those in the grocery stores. But anything else, fellas, before we get out of here?
Who's coming to Ohio in August?
I will be there.
All right.
Maybe. Are you going, Rich?
I mean, I'm like an hour north of where that is. So
okay.
Yeah, I'll make an appearance. I met Bob down there a couple years ago.
That was one of the joys of my life here. Come on, bring it back.
Yeah, you can have breakfast with Bob and I at the hotel. It seems to be our thing in the morning.
I'm gonna need Bob and the OGs of the industry to change the rules that only one person from the company can take part in the league. I'll be there anyways, but until I can usurp Pat, I might have to make a blueprint here to get rid of him from that league. I can't actually join, so I'll be there anyhow, though.
I'll let you in on
I have a fantastic sleeper hold, and I usually sit next to Doherty every chance I get. So,
let's do it then.
I'll let you in on a secret. We have somehow worked it where we have Steve Rapin from Fighting Chance does the auction draft, and then I have the deal where I do the snake draft. So you guys can do that. Actually, Kevin Tompkins, who was in this draft, just logged off. He and I are going to share the snake draft team this year. So maybe you can work that out, between your site.
I would love that, actually. I don't know if there's an opening, but let me try and do that because I will be there this year for sure. And I'm so excited because, we all missed the expos and everything, the conferences last year. Just to be there in the same room with the rest of the industry guys, just chopping up how much we grinded and what was the hardest fantasy football season ever for the industry last year. Like, I'm just excited to
wait till this year.
That's what I keep telling people, by the way. This year's going to be much worse.
So I don't know if anyone's looked. There's not a bye week until week 6. And there's only one bye week with 6 teams on bye, so 3 games gone. And there's an extra week this season.
Christmas game.
For content creators and someone that writes up every single game of the season, I'm already tilting in May, looking forward to this season. This is going to be one of the most grueling content creation seasons that I think ever. When everyone's like, yeah, more football. I'm like, whoa. Hang on. It's not go crazy NFL.
Every guy who does content, when they heard we're adding an extra game, just kind of like put their hand in their hands like, that's another week of shows. That's another week of articles.
And they just spread all the buys out. Like, because I love the old schedule. It's like buy starting week 4. You run into a couple, weeks where there's only 13 games. You got 3 games up. There's only one 13-game week this year. And it's just, and buys don't start until week 6.
I know. Man, it is going to be brutal. Well, we'll let you guys get out of here. Dwayne, final thoughts, my friend.
No, man, just appreciate you guys hopping on. It was a good opportunity for me. This is actually my first best ball I've even done. Like, I've been so busy with like my normal job, but getting to have you guys on has been great. So we appreciate you.
So, folks, if you enjoyed this show, again, if you're on iTunes or wherever you're watching it, give us a nice review on YouTube. Leave a message in the comments. Good luck out there, everybody. We'll see you next week. And never forget, never get out hustled. We'll see you, folks. Take care.